All right, so let's talk about the implications of this for firm valuation and how we think about valuing a firm. All right, first, typically when we sort of have a forecast period, we forecast 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Okay, we forecast typically a period of time when growth is higher and there is a competitive advantage. And this translates into higher growth rates, but typically what competitive advantage means is you have higher margins. You're able to either charge two things. You're either able to charge a higher price than the competition and have the same cost, or if you charge the same price, your cost is lower. So your margins, the different, so what you're going to earn, where we sort of think about margin as being price minus cost equals to margin, gross margin, that basically that is going to be a period of time where if you're charging a higher price with the same cost, so you have the same price and lower cost, your margins are going to be higher. So this would be our forecast period. It could be any number of years. Then we get to steady state. And as we talked about before, steady state growth, which is, this is the growth rate forever. Okay, so typically we have a situation where we're going to assume that if we think about this as growth, this is time, is the growth declines and then levels out, and this is steady state. This would be our forecast horizon where we forecast the individual free cash flows, and this would be our steady state. But also, when we go to talk about steady state, one of the key assumptions in steady state is there's no competitive advantage, that all new investments are zero NPV projects. And so we come back over here, we say steady state growth is lower, and typically what we see is that when it means that our competitive advantage erodes away, typically what it means is that our margins decline in steady state because of competition. Now, one of the things that we'll talk about in class is that one of the things you find with the DCF model, where we have a forecast horizon and then we calculate a terminal value, is one of the discussions is that, the terminal value blows up when we sort of change the growth rate. Well, one of the things that we need to think about is that if we're truly modeling steady state in an appropriate way where there's no competitive advantage and any new investments we make are zero NPV projects, then in fact varying the growth rate should not have a big impact on the terminal value, because all of those new projects would be that in the future we're not able to invest at the higher rate of return. We're usually able to just invest at the return on investment equal to the required rate of return. And the consequence is that typically, if we're doing it right, different growth rates do not have a big impact on terminal value. And this is sort of an important conclusion. You got to be careful here, because you see many models where people talk about, I blow up, change the growth rate and I can get any value I want. But there's something embedded in this, is that if that's happening, if you increase the growth rate and the value of the firm, the terminal value just jumps to infinity or a very large number, you're not doing something right, because what you're not doing is you're actually not taking into account the fact that in steady state that what you're earning on your investment should be equal to the required rate of return. And typically what people don't do is they don't reduce the margins, and they assume that those margins are going to continue forever. So that's one of the things we need to do. All right, so let's go back over here. So these are some key takeaways that I would like you to think about. We have a forecast horizon when there's higher growth and higher margins. In steady state, growth is going to be that lower growth forever. It's going to be lower growth. And also in steady state, there's no competitive advantage. And typically, the margins you should use in steady state should reflect the fact that there is no competitive advantage. And if we do that, one of the things that turns out is different growth rates do not have as bigger impact on the terminal value. All right,